Welcome everyone. Today's session is all about the most exciting topic every B2B startup want to hear. How we can define the GTM with enterprise and corporate innovation perspective. So usually what happens when you work with B2B companies, getting a proper entry to an enterprise is always a challenging thing, right? So how do you tackle this? How do you build a relationship with them, grow together, innovate together? That is the whole perspective that we are bringing here. So for today's discussion, we thrilled to have two experts here from one of the biggest companies. One is from Vedanta and from Bosch. Let me welcome Srinivasa Rao and JC Vishwanath to the panel discussion. We'll start with a basic briefing about your profile, what is your connects with the startup ecosystem, and how you can leverage if a startup is reaching out to you in a quick 1 minute if you are able to cover.
Sure. Thanks for the introduction, Safil. Good morning, everyone. My name is JC Vishwanath. I'm part of the strategy and the new business team at Bosch. And before Bosch, I've predominantly been in the management consulting and strategy creation space, close to 15 years of experience. In terms of how we engage with startups, I think we have all models of collaborations on the table, predominantly on the go-to-market and portfolio expansion side. So any startup that's looking to co-create, look at routes to market, and look at complementary value creation, we'll be more than happy to talk to them. We also have structured programs which I think some of these startups might have been part of earlier or would be aware of, called the DNA, which I'll speak over the next few minutes. But largely I'm happy and excited to be here and hoping to learn from both of you and also give my 2 cents on the topic. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning to all. Yeah, I'm Srinivasa Rao. I'm representing Vedanta Limited. We are in metal and mining business. So in terms of my role, as you can see, Vedanta Spark. So Spark, we have created this new channel for the startups. Spark is especially for those startups who want to solve our business problems with their unique solutions. So we started this initiative with our chairman's vision 2 years back, more than 2 years. Means what I can see, go to market in a metal and mining business, it depends on business type and your manufacturing, type of manufacturing. In our case, we started initially with few startups. They came with their solutions, they test trial, then they go back, they came back again with a strong learning. Because what I can say that for the startups, it's not only you do the test on laboratories. You have to test on the real scenarios. That's what I can feel, where you can find not only your product outcome, also you can see what are the surrounding challenges you can face in terms of change management, in terms of how you can convince. So that is one kind of, you are doing an R&D in a real world, which can give lot of confidence also. When you go to the similar industry, you know that yes, these are the 3 things what they really look into. So frankly I can say that as a metal and mining, 90% people, they don't bother about the technology, they want the outcome. Okay, so in those kind of perspective, you have to understand on which are the KPIs I want to pick, how it is benefiting the organization and how best I can show the vision. This is also very important. I want to put forward this point. It's not about solving a small problem, but you have to bring with a greater vision of how you can collaborate for another 3 years, 5 years. That's what we are also looking at.
Perfect. So I would like to understand a bit more information how the dynamics between this enterprise enterprises and startups work, right? Because I was working with a large enterprise Navaratna company in the country. So what happens is like they have their own pace because they slow, but they do it in a large scale implementation manner. But when you talk to a startup, they are really innovative. They need to make things happen in a faster phase. So when you evaluate these kind of things, right, bridging the gap is the successful thing if you are able to manage things properly. But it is not that much easy, right? So my question to you is, what exactly that you are looking for looking when you evaluate a startup before you getting partnered with them, and what are the most value addition that you are bringing to them, and are you looking for technology, innovation or something else?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of the startups, the reason behind I am coming here because I have a bunch of problems in my industry. I know that there are a lot of challenges, and what we are following, we are having an approach inside out and outside in for the startups. Inside out means first of all we do the brainstorming, and we are listing down all the pain areas first, and we are trying to map with the correct solution. Even if it's not a correct solution, we want to understand the technology and we are bridging the gap. Yes, if we can able to solve the problem in defense, the similar problem we can able to solve in manufacturing. So those kind of mapping kind of things we are doing. And second is outside in, where we are not sure about whether that is a problem or not. But startups are coming with their solution. So we want to understand, okay, in the first phase we are not denying that may be the problem going forward, maybe after 2 years. So we have to look into the future. Right now it may not be the problem, maybe after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, we can come with the different dynamics of business. That case this may be one of the challenge. So outside in approach also we are looking at where startups coming with a unique solution. We are doing lot of brainstorming sessions. We are asking them to come to the site, invest time, understand the problems and find out. We are giving, yes, these are the 5 areas which we may feel that it can be solved with your solution. Do some kind of analysis. And we are supporting in all kinds of data, all kinds of things. And one more important, now we started, we are doing POC for all startups. We are encouraging 100% POC. We are doing POC or pilot based on the type of their solution. But if we talk about the pilots, sometimes what will happen, that may need some investment. Maybe small POC, it is around 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs. So we are encouraging, no, we will not do free of cost. That is not the burden we have to put on the startups. Let's have, at the same time, startup also should not feel that yes, it's a free of cost, I can do and go. No, it should be win-win situation. So what we are doing, we are coming up with a sharing model. Yes, this is the total investment. You come with all the laundry list of your cost. You bear some cost, we will bear some cost. But the platform we are giving to you.
So that's perfect. So you basically help them to nourish the product and make that product market ready and help them to scale that, right?
Yeah, and we have one more approach: pilot to scale up to hyperscale.
Okay.
So that is and we are means very strongly following that one. Yeah. So scale up we are doing in one area. We have manufacturing units across India and outside India. So it's a very much connected. We are doing pilot in one area. We are calling them also to witness. So we are also not repeating the pilots same in different Vedanta units. One unit we are doing, we are getting the results, getting the feedback. Let's do the scale up. So that is the scale up. Then hyper scale up, we are looking at 3 years, 5 years kind of journey.
Perfect. So I'll circle back to you a bit more information. I would love to know a bit more information in that angle. Before we come back to you, I'll ask one simple question to JC. So most of the time what happens is, as a startup, we are a startup, right? So as a startup, when you approach, always when we approach to a corporate innovation teams, right? So when you evaluate a startup, what are the key components that you are evaluating? Do I need to spend time with this company? Is it relevant to us as Bosch? Or am I able to sell this internally to my stakeholders? Because there is a cost associated with everything, right? So you need to identify which stakeholder who is going to support this. So can you take me through that journey to get an understanding for better GTM?
Sure. I think the most relevant question is how do you grow together, right? And when I earlier spoke about the program that we have called DNA, I'll just spend a minute or so and talk about that. The program is called DNA, Discover, Nurture, Align. The first part, like the name suggests, Discover, is actually identify the right bunch of problem statements and pain areas for the business within your different groups or PUs in the organization, and put that forth as my search field or the opportunity areas for the startup. And then figure out for those problem statements, which are those right set of startups or organizations are there in the market that can come up with a solution, right? So when I'm going and scouting and discovering my startups, at that time itself I'm putting the right filters and guardrails to ensure that this indeed is the solution I'm looking for. After that, you have a nurture phase where we actually work with them over a period of 12 to 16 weeks and then say, hey, this is how we can tweak these solutions, this is how we can look at going to market, this is how we can look at scaling this is how we can look at doing the first level POC, etc. And the last stage is align, where we align them to a particular business unit within Bosch, right? And then after that is your 1 to 10 and hyperscale phase. Now, to answer your question, I think the first thing that we do is on the internal side, right? Figure out what are those relevant intersection areas of technology / market requirements that we are going to prioritize as an organization. And then figure out, does it make sense to build this organically in-house, or do we need to collaborate with the startup? If the answer is latter, then we look at that as our starting point. And then you figure out maybe 3 axes, right? Technology, the team and the culture of the organization, and the ability to scale and the ability of the market to adopt that solution. If all of these are essentially ticking the boxes, or most of these are ticking the boxes, then it becomes a great fit, right? The most important thing I think, ensuring successful GTM partnerships with startups is mutual value creation, right? When I say GTM, it has to be win and success in the market both for corporate and startups. And then it has to be also a collaborative approach.
Perfect. So how do you make sure that it's aligned with your GTM? So can you explain a little bit more towards this?
Yeah, sure. So when I say GTM, if you have to break it down further, it's essentially market segments that you're interested in. It is essentially the right size of organizations that you might want to sell to, and also tapping into your existing networks. Bosch is a large organization in India and globally. So they have a bunch of customer networks that already exist. So within that, what are those complementary areas or what are those overlaps that I can find for this particular solution, and therefore those become my low-hanging fruits, right? So that becomes an ability for me to do initial market validation and also go deeper within some of those customer segments and get that 1 to 10 and hyperscale as you was mentioning.
So, as I mentioned earlier, right, GTM is the key topic for today. So when you're crafting a winning GTM, so usually it's defined, depends upon the startups, right? So how do you make sure that the GTM, based on your experience, is like, you are doing a lot of advisory to the startups also. How do you make sure that, what are the key ingredients that you need to be focused while you design a GTM?
Yeah, okay. So from my experience, what I feel that first thing is required for the startup to understand which problem they are solving and who are your customers. And you have to little bit deep dive and see presently how they are leveraging the solutions. Are you able to break that ice? Like you have, there is this traditional way of working. Can your solution can able to give a disruptive kind of approach? Like yes, I don't want to do the same way I am doing, or we have OEMs, right?
Yeah.
So what I can say, it's not a new thing what you are doing. Only you are solving the normal problem with your unique technology. So that is very important to understand how big problem you are solving first. Second, that problem is temporary or permanent. How you can able to understand that problem if I am going to solve, that is a collaboration I am bringing.
Okay.
Okay. And third important thing, what I can say, you have to start early, fail early, so that you can come back with greater force. So that is also important.
Perfect. So that's when you talk about very early stage startups, right? So my question to JC is like on top of this, so because you closely work with a lot of vendors also in Bosch. So do you advise startups to do any specific approaches, or do you have any framework for setting up the GTM? Because I believe that you need to focus on process. Maybe after you discover the initial markets, then after that you need to focus on the process and define a framework. Then only we will be able to identify a failure. So do you have some lights on top of that?
Sure. I think earlier when I spoke about mutual value creation, what I meant was there is a bunch of strength that the startup brings and the corporate already has, right? Agility, ability to churn out solutions quickly and create something and fail fast is probably something which a startup will do much better than a corporate. Whereas a corporate has set processes, procedures and guardrails that will help it get sustainable long-term success. Right? So this is largely the what do you call the lay of the land in terms of what the startup is bringing and what the corporate is bringing. Now, when we look at sustainable GTM framework, we have specific metrics and North Star targets that we want to achieve in our go-to-market relationship with the startup, right? Which means a certain top-end revenue number by a certain time period. So that is very basic, right? But how do we define that market validation? It could be a certain number of POCs initially that you might be doing. It could be specifically targeting a couple of sectors, maybe automobile or cyber security, for example. And how are we able to create some sort of impact across certain types of customers in that particular segment? And that doesn't have to be enterprise customers in the first year. It could be something else that we define together with the startup, right? So there are two stages to it. One is what we call a 0 to 1, where there is initial good level of validation that happens, and then you have a 1 to 10, right? The 1 to 10 is where I think you need to do a lot more of, I would say, going beyond your comfort zone in terms of what a startup will probably start, otherwise not do it. So which is where I think they'll have to look at maybe newer markets, maybe newer segments, and maybe look at larger scales, right? So we would provide them with the existing sales channel partner networks on the ground, with the collaterals, with the right discussions and conversations with the companies that we already have as part of network. So all of that initial footwork on the ground and a little bit of advantage to start is something which the corporate can provide. But after that, the solution that we take market has to speak for itself, because no one is going to become a repeat customer unless there is value inherent in that. So I think that is typically how we look at it. We have metrics at each stage, and like we said, fail fast is also something we believe in. when certain guardrails are not met, I think it's very important for us to take a decision in terms of pivoting quickly, in terms of the product, or in terms of the market, or in terms of looking at different other options as well.
Perfect. So you also always make sure that there is a cycle, maybe 2 weeks, 5 weeks, or 10 weeks, depends upon the sales cycle, right? You will define your GTM and you will always do an iteration on top of that.
Yeah, I think that the time period depends on the solution itself. If it's an add-on software solution on top of an existing sensor or a hardware solution, for example, then the gestation period might be much longer. If it is a simple software implementation on top of what already exists, then it could be sooner. So I think that success criteria, like I said, we will define based on joint discussion and agreement with the startup. It could be as simple as us integrating one of our partner startups solution into our response to an RFP, right, for example. Yeah. Or it could be something as niche as creating a new product where the 60-40% IP and technology capability with the startup and the corporate also brings to the table. So I think both are two ends of the extreme spectrum, but depends on what specifically you're selling, who is buying, how they are making the buying decisions. Based on that, you can set the startup.
I'm coming to that decision making now, right? Because the thing is, like, when you work with, I'm just asking to Srinivasa, and you can also talk about that. So what happens is, like, when you work with these large corporates, especially B2B or B2G, what usually happens is sales cycle is so long, 6 to 9 months, and the decision makers are not the people that we are maybe discussing. So how do you handle and be prepared as a startup while you work with a corporate?
Sure. I think there are two parts to the question. One is B2B, one is B2G. B2G is a different ballgame. You need a lot of expertise, networks that you have built over many, many years that you'll have to tap into and move the cycle there. B2B, on the other hand, I think like I said, the gestation period largely depends on the solution, but also we have some directional progress that you keep looking for, right? It may not be sign off on what you're trying to get, but it may be directional progress. It may be, further discussions on the commercials. It could be something where you're getting a phase-wise work that has been allocated to you, so you do a quick POC. It could be something which is do it for region 1 first and then scale it to end regions. So while you may not get everything in the time period that you might want, but you still keep looking for positive movement in the right direction. So that is something that we have seen, especially in some of these sectors where we already don't have a presence, right? From a B2G perspective, I think we're blessed to have a very good relationship with most of the governments, both the center and the state level. In fact, we have a dedicated team that does government and institutional sales, right? And these are things that you, like I said, you build over many years. For a startup to do it from scratch, from zero, would be extremely time-taking and to some extent not their core competency, so why would they do it? So I think that is where probably a large organization like Bosch can really help crack that code in probably 1/10 the time.
So you can also take your startups along with your sales cycles. Yeah. Okay. So do you have any other points on top of that?
Yeah. When you talk about startups engaged in B2B, I talk about the B2B. So there are two kinds of solutions. One is you are solving the direct problems, like in the process, outside the process. You are supplementing the process. Like right now, I have 98%, you are improving the 98.2. So and we are playing on volumes. Okay, so as a business, it's very much about the volumes. And other than that, other product means B2C, when you talk about there, you have to do a lot of innovation, you have competition. In our case, competition is very less. We have the very set of customers. Okay. So, but what you asked about, that is very important, and as a part of the startup team from Vedanta side, we also felt that those are the areas we need to focus. So we need to start pilot fast, we have to evaluate the results, and we can give an outcome. Yes, it is successful, not successful, we have to do some tuning and come back. So, and in the organization, we have to go through a lot of processes, and there are a lot of hierarchies. So right now, what we have done, we have created a separate channel only to deal with the startups, and we are engaging the top leaders like CEOs, CFOs, and we are coming with some kind of agreements.
Yeah.
Yes, we have these many problems, and we are coming with a quick, we are calling it as a full kit note. Full kit note, like it is giving the complete overview of what the problem, how the startup is solving the problem, where it is impacting, is there any benefit, or ESG. ESG also we are taking as one of the benefit, like safety, ESG, those areas, and we are going to the those forums, top management forums. Yes, this is the solution. We have to spend this much. Let's go ahead. So right now it's speed up. So earlier I definitely agree. 2 years back when we started, that time we also means this exposure to startups and other things are not so good. But right now corporates also coming with a unique team, unique approach to encourage them. So that way we are doing that now.
So you are advising a startup to focus on a niche problem that you are facing and focus on that and scale that. That's your advice, right?
Yes.
So when you talk about that, you also have some scaling models. Both of your companies have a scaling model. So I built the product and it was successful in one of your organizations. Then what is the next level of strategy to go global? So what, like most of the startup founder maybe does not have good experience with SI model, system integrator model or EPC models, but as a corporate you are much familiar with that. Are you advising them to build a SI path to scale internationally, because most of the headaches they will take care of while you grow beyond a certain line? So what is your thought process on that?
I think it might be you cannot paint everything with the same brush, right? So whether it's an SI model, EPC model, I think that completely depends on the problem area and how you're trying to solve for that problem area. So I wouldn't comment specifically on the model. For example, if it's a SaaS model, the way you look at it will be completely different, right? You will look at probably metrics like cost of customer acquisition, lifetime value, and those kind of things. But largely, I think how we will look at this is what kind of customer/market validation you are getting in the sectors that you want to play, right? Whether I do it domestically, internationally, is a decision that I will take based on market, based on competition, based on readiness of the product. So I wouldn't say that there is a set cheat sheet or a cookie cutter approach to say that, hey, you do 2 years in India and then you become a diamond partner for an SI and do this in US. Of course, if it makes sense to do it in US from day one, then why not, right? So in that sense, it's completely dependent on the business model, revenue model, kind of customer based on the solution that you have in mind. And this will also vary for across sectors and within sectors kind of solutions, right? For example, if you are looking at a completely new sunrise sector like, I don't know, space, then you might want to start as a service, for example. You might want to start not in the upstream or midstream, you might want to start more downstream and in the peripheral sort of low-hanging fruits areas, and then want to go deeper. So it completely depends on how you are able to envisage that solution and grow that, right? But the one thing that we look at is strong business economics that we can create sustainable businesses around over a period of a decade. We do not want something which is great today and tomorrow, but we do not know how it's going to be in the long term. Right? So that is something which we're very particular about and cognizant about, because we want to build something which is fundamentally strong as a business from day one, not trying to see if we can keep pouring in money and keep making it better. So when I spoke about 0 to 1 to 1 to 10, so 0 to 1 is more like an incubation model, and then it's more like a studio model, right, where you're trying to get that scale, right? And if that scale, depending on whether you're able to hit that scale at the rate at which you want or not, you might make some pivots. But the core business fundamentals have to be strong. Unit economics, your the right customer ICPs and those kind of things.
Yeah, which means right from the problem statement that you have selected towards the GTM, it has to be very perfect. Then only it will be a pure play scale will comes in, right?
Yeah, we have set processes and policies in place at each of those phases, right? Right from discover to live, and we keep course correcting and assessing whether that some of those metrics are being hit or not. If there is a chance that some of those metrics will not get achieved, then we do a double click and a root cause analysis to figure out why they are not getting hit. Is it because of market? Is it because of some other macroeconomic event? Is it something that is in our control, outside of control? Can we change that? If we can't change that, then how do we again course correct? So I think those are business decisions you take with the right stakeholders kept in the loop.
Yeah. So on top of that, I want to ask you one small question. So when you declare a problem statement from your side, the startups always speaks, right? So what is your advice to your internal teams when you publish a problem statement? Like, are you suggesting them to go with must-have problem statement or a good-to-have problem statement? Because if it is a good-to-have, most of these startups, like, we believe in 1% increment every year. But we, as a startup, we always believe in disruptive approach. Then only a proper GTM, value creation and other kind of things happens. So from an organizational level, when you define a problem, are you concentrating and educating your stakeholders what we can expect?
Yeah, it's very good question you ask. It's not about we have to increase the number of startups engaged. It's about how the startups are benefited. At the same time, we also get the value out of their unique solutions. So what we have done, we have created, as I said, full kit. So it is complete. It is called from the day partner has startup we engage till we place the PO. So that is the full cycle. So in this one we have something called challenge curation document. So that document is a 2 to 3 page, very much summarized and talking about what's the problem, who has given the problem, how big is the problem, from when they are facing this problem, whether they have any alternative looking at or this is the only thing they are looking at. So with this one, we are giving to the startup also, they are also feel that yes, I know the quantum, I know the pain of this one, let's work on that. Even we are doing some data related analysis also. Like with this problem, how much we lost, what are the other losses. So with this one, what will happen, this will give the encouragement also to the startup. Yes, this is a real problem, not like we came and they have invited. So that is very important, because ultimately we have to make success the startup also. It's not the number. We brought the startup and after 1 month, 2 months say no, it's not working. So it's better we will do the due diligence before.
Yeah. So which means the problems when we define, we will always think that okay, 6 plus 2 is 8 years, 10 years upfront, what is going to happen, the startup and the product, right? So that kind of vision that you are spending.
And one more thing I add, in the Vedanta Spark, we have the combination of team. with technical, finance, commercial, as well as young MBA graduates. So we are analyzing. If you talk about me, I am having 18 plus years of experience in the industry. So if some problems comes, I am the first person to filter.
Correct.
So such kind of screening also we are doing. That means we are like a bridge between startup and the organization. So we want to see that which is good for the organization as well as for the startup.
Yeah.
So that is the approach whatever.
Perfect. So once we have successfully completed the initial phase of our honeymoon period after getting into the organization, next thing is like scaling this and nourishing this, building a sustainable partnership. So I'm a founder, right? So as a founder, I always worried how I can keep this growth organically, because there are a lot of transfers. Of course, corporates change people faster also. So how do you handle these kind of situation? What is your advice for the founders?
Yeah, I think my advice for the founders would be stay open and adaptable, right? That obviously the reason why they also partnered with the corporate is there is a lot of value that corporate brings onto the table, right? In terms of its structures, procedures, guardrails, strong sort of business fundamentals, right? So what I would say is essentially look at it as are you still able to achieve those metrics and growth parameters and milestones along the way that you set out when you started, right? That is the ultimate litmus test for me, right? Of course, it is impossible, very difficult rather, to retain the same culture of a startup when it gets aligned closely with a business unit in an organization, which is still okay if I'm still progressing along the same path. But on the other extreme, there have been scenarios where I think it is encouraged for startups or that particular business unit as it scales to get carved out or spun off into a separate entity. Right? If it means that they will be more successful doing that, rather than being closely aligned to that particular business. And having said that, with the blessings and under the broad supervision of the corporate itself, right? So those are also models that work sometimes, right? They go separate. They still have the access to the templates, playbooks, customers, networks of the corporates, but at the same time they are able to keep the same agility which they had when they started, right? So it's a win-win kind of a scenario. So that is another scenario which works when you sort of carve them out into a separate entity and help them run faster rather than at the same pace. The third thing that we can also do is figure out how you can get best of the leadership teams and the mind share of the corporates into your organization. Not necessarily from your particular business unit that you're aligned to, but also with the larger corporate's leadership team, right? Because they may have seen certain growth cycles and crests and troughs in their careers professionally. So learning from them and bringing them on board as advisors also is a great way to get some validation and also get some intelligent quotient into your system.
Yeah. So maybe a last question from my side. So do you see any certain technologies in your organization or business models getting popular in your organization? Because earlier I believe there is a licensing model like lump sum cost, upfront and an AMC. But the entire world is changing into SaaS and people are talking about that. So what is the perspective for the corporate at this point of time in your organization, inside India? If I'm an Indian founder, definitely you have to work with that. So what is the growth of the business model that you are seeing and the technology that you are seeing in your organization?
Yeah, I think at the starting of the talk when I mentioned that we first look at what are the pain points, what are the challenges within the organization. We also try to put a lens of where the world is heading over the next decade or so to come up with those areas, right? And some of the interesting areas that we as an organization are looking to explore are cybersecurity, semiconductor, sustainability, on top of our existing industries, right? And we believe that these could be horizontal technologies that can enable growth across industries. And we believe the market is going to expand across these areas. Now, to the first part of your question in terms of models, I still see, sorry to disappoint you, I still see SaaS as one of the most sort of favorite models, simply because I think the unit economics and the way you recover money post the inflection point is much better there. But you still have your licensing models and IP whitelisting kind of models that are also in play. More and more I see a skin in the game kind of a model also coming up, right? Which means there's a sort of equity on the table that's given to certain folks, within the startups, and when you do the carve out, they still have significant skin in the game and stake, and a larger reason to be part of the startup success story, right? So those kind of outcome-based models are also becoming more popular, is what I feel.
Okay, over to you. So, as Vedanta, most of these projects are going through tenders and those kind of things, right? So, what kind of model that you are engaging if you are a startup?
Yeah, in terms of technology, we are looking at improving the KPI, like we are looking at volume, quality, cost reductions, and ESG especially. So, in the from technology point of view, we are going with IoTs, where it is supplementing and replacing the traditional sensorizations what we are using. Second is you are predicting analytics, which is having a very great role in terms of, because as an industry we are having lot of data, so but we don't know how to leverage that. And there is in a traditional organization like us, we have a lot of man-made decisions. So we have to come up with data-driven decisions. So we are working very closely on the predictive models, analytics, those areas. So in terms of model, contracting model or engagement model, right now you see all the organizations like us also, we are going with outsourced model, completely outsourced. We have very few people who are managing the show, but now it's completely outsourced. We are giving the KPIs, you come with the KPIs. So in those kind of models, there is a comfort as well as the challenge. Comfort is, yes, they are doing everything, so no need to do. So even the startup is coming, you say you engage with our partner. But the challenge is lot of dependency. Data is residing with them. They have all those controls. And second is transparency is not there. So for building the gaps, what we are using the startups, like whatever means data-driven approaches are there. We are ask them, you bring these models, come with a complete analytics, so that will give very clear understanding about how the outsourcing partners also working, as well as in future if you want to come with the new models, new contracting things, this decisions will help. So that is very complementing things what you are getting with the startup side.
Before the closing remarks, like can we have like 2 questions for the audience if the time permits? Do we have time? Yeah. At least we'll take one. Yes, it is.
Hey, hi, I'm Asher. I'm speaking from multiple capacities. Sorry.
Not audible.
Yeah, is it fine now? Cool. So, like I said, I'm here in multiple capacities. I run a bootstrap venture for the past 7 years that serves marketing organizations. We set up, restructure marketing first GCCs to funded startups, etc., and also train their team. So there is a very complicated buying process involved in this. There are two stakeholders involved. You have a marketing leadership and you have the HR. Have you figured a complicated journey in terms of convincing two different functional heads when it comes to decision making, or is there a proven playbook per se as we how to engage with people from different functions in the buying committee?
I think the short answer is it depends on the kind of what you are trying to get the buy-in for. I think in general, if it's a subject that's very close to a decision that a marketing head would anyway make, I think the approval or the sort of the route to make it successful would be through the marketing leadership. Maybe there are overlapping topics where I think the other stakeholders need to be kept in the loop, but largely I think it's very much dependent on what the subject is. If it is something very close to marketing, branding, comms, maybe the marketing leadership should be the right stakeholders to take the decision. That's how it happens in our organization. Can't comment for everyone, but otherwise maybe there's an overlap.
Good afternoon, everyone. I work in marketing and brand, so that's the reason I'm asking this question today. A lot of time we try and launch a product in specific geographies and do as a pilot study whatever, and then we want to scale up further to reduce the risk. At the same point in time, whenever you do any kind of interventions, marketing or branding interventions, it's always very tough to understand the outcome of those activities. So anything particularly you would like to throw light on? Thank you.
Yeah, in terms of pilots, what we are doing, the pilot successful, we are doing the detailed analysis, and as a two-way branding for us as well as the startup, we are publishing in the social media platforms. You can also see Vedanta Spark. There are a lot of startups with their unique solutions, how they have helped, everything is already there. So branding is a very important part. They have startups spent 3 months, 4 months in our premises, and means not only it's a paid pilot, it's not only the money we have to give, we have to maintain their reputation as well as a branding from our side, because we have also some distribution channels, means indirect, we have a followers. So we can also publish our things. So you can see in our Vedanta Spark, there are a lot many startups with their successful solution we have published. So that is a very important part, and we are also following. Internal branding also we are doing. In one location, if it is successful, we are covering all our locations. We have Vedanta all website, in that one we are publishing. So those branding things we are strictly following in startups. Thanks.
So I'll add one point to it. So when you define a marketing campaign or a sales campaign, we will clearly tell that what is the outcome is. We will track that KPI very clearly to make sure that it's a success or failure. If it is failed, if it is successful also, we will make sure that what went wrong, what went correct, then only you will be able to scale in a large level, right? So we always focus the outcome along with the KPIs defined before. So because of the time constraint, we are wrapping up the session. And thank you JC and Srinivasa Rao for being here and sharing your knowledge. Thank you all.
Thank you.